Taxi Driver tells the story of, well, a taxi driver. Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro, a former Vietnam veteran working as a cabbie in his spare time. He befriends a child prostitute named Iris, played by Jodie Foster, before encountering some bizarre and strange passengers along the way. Oh, and Albert Brooks, Harvey Keitel, Peter Boyle, and Sybil Shepherd are all in there as well, but they don't really do anything.
You're a funny guy.
Writer Paul Schrader was inspired to write the screenplay when he read the diaries of Arthur Bremer, the man who shot presidential candidate George Wallace in 1972, and decided he wanted to write a film about a man who was driven to madness by the society around him. Schrader was also inspired by his experience living in New York City whilst battling chronic insomnia, which led him to visiting pornographic bookstores and theatres frequently as they were open all night, and he even spent a few weeks living in his car. He also drew inspiration from Jean-Paul Sartre's novel Nausea and John Ford's film The Searchers. He ended up writing the screenplay in just 2 weeks during a hospital visit for a stomach ulcer. When I was talking to the nurse, I realised I hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks. That was when the metaphor of the taxi occurred to me. That is what I was, this person in an iron box, a coffin, floating around the city, but seemingly alone.
I think I understand.
Schrader decided to make Bickle a Vietnam vet because the national trauma of the war fit perfectly alongside Travis's paranoid psyche, making his experiences after the war more intense and threatening. Originally, Brian De Palma was the first choice to direct, but he turned the job down as he felt he wasn't ready to take on such an ambitious project. He later called this the biggest mistake of his entire career. No, Brian, that would be Mission to Mars.
That's what you think.
De Palma then showed the script to his good friend Martin Scorsese, who loved it and instantly accepted the job. Some changes were made to the screenplay though. The character of Sport, who would later be played by Harvey Keitel, was supposed to be black, but Scorsese felt that casting a black man as a pimp would have been misconstrued as racist, so Schrader reluctantly changed the character to a white man. But they had absolutely no problem casting a convenience store robber as a black guy. That's not stereotypical at all.
There never has been any choice for me.
In fact, the original script portrayed Travis himself as a racist who only targeted black men, but it was decided that a film ending with a white man getting away with killing multiple black men would be morally irresponsible given the racial tensions of the time, so Travis's racist motivation was cut from the script. So they didn't want to come across as racist, but they had absolutely no problem whatsoever casting a 12-year-old Jodie Foster as a prostitute who has romantic relations with 35-year-old Harvey Keitel and tries to sexually seduce 31-year-old Robert De Niro.
No, don't do that.
However, due to Scorsese's lack of experience as a filmmaker at this point, the producers were hesitant to let him make the film. It wasn't until they saw his previous film Mean Streets and was so impressed with the movie and Robert De Niro's performance in it that they agreed to let him direct, but only if De Niro was cast as the lead, to which Scorsese agreed. But before De Niro was chosen, the role of Travis was offered to a long list of actors. Schrader had written the part with Jeff Bridges in mind to play him, but turned it down due to the dark nature of the story, and because he was too busy shitting on the King Kong franchise.
You're dead.
Dustin Hoffman was then considered, but he refused, telling Scorsese he was crazy, though he later regretted the decision. And Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty, Burt Reynolds, Ryan O'Neal, Peter Fonda, Al Pacino, Jon Voight, David Carradine, Richard Dreyfuss, Christopher Walken, Elaine Delon, James Caan, Roy Scheider, Paul Newman, Marlon Brando, Martin Sheen, Elliot Gould, and Alan Alda were all considered.
Damn straight.
In order to prepare for the role, De Niro obtained a taxi driver's license and would work as a real cabbie during his breaks in order to get into Bickle's headspace. In fact, one of his fares was a struggling actor who recognised him and said, "Wow, you just won an Oscar. Is it that hard to get work?"
You don't have to answer.
However, De Niro's casting did cause some problems, as he was filming 1900 in Italy at around the same time. He would literally get on the plane to New York on Friday, film for 3 days at a time, and then return to Rome on Monday evening. In addition, because De Niro had just won an Academy Award for The Godfather Part 2, the producers panicked, believing he would ask for more money due to his new status as an Oscar winner. Luckily, De Niro agreed to keep his salary as low as possible in order to get the film made, even turning down a role in Jaws in order to star in the movie. We're gonna need a bigger star.
Thanks a lot.
Carrie Fisher, Mariel Hemingway, Bo Derek, Kim Cattrall, Rosanna Arquette, Christy McNichol, and Michelle Pfeiffer were all considered for the role of Iris before Jodie Foster was cast. Before being given the part, Foster was subjected to psychological testing and attended sessions with a psychiatrist to ensure that she would not be emotionally scarred by her role, in accordance with California Labor Board requirements monitoring children's welfare on film sets. She was 12-year-old cast as a 12-year-old prostitute? How did she get away with this? Why did her parents agree to this? And she talks so casually about it too.
My mom thought he was crazy because, I really didn't look like a prostitute, and but he had a lot of faith in that I could transform, and I did it.
You were cast as a prostitute when you should have been watching Looney Tunes!
I just think he's silly.
Due to her age, she wasn't permitted to do any of the nude scenes that her character takes part in, so any scenes of her topless were performed by her 19-year-old sister Connie Foster. Jodie later confessed that she often found working on set very uncomfortable, as Scorsese didn't know how to approach different scenes with her, and he mostly relied on De Niro to deliver his directions to the young actress instead. Foster later called De Niro her acting mentor and said that much of her career was influenced by advice he had given her during filming. For the character of Betsy, a woman that De Niro meets and gains a thing for, Glenn Close, Susan Sarandon, Jessica Lange and Jane Seymour were all considered, but the producers wanted Scorsese to cast a Sybil Shepherd type, believing that this would add to the character's sex appeal. When Scorsese heard about this, he simply told them, why not just cast Sybil Shepherd? I like this guy. Other than the fact that he casts children as hookers.
Because I don't want to.
Filming began in June of 1974 in New York, and it took place during an extreme heat wave, meaning that the actors had to constantly drink iced water in order to stay refrigerated. The city was also on the brink of bankruptcy at the time of filming, resulting in a sanitation strike, meaning that there was litter everywhere, which at first seemed like it would ruin the shots. However, Scorsese realized that he could use this to the film's advantage, and incorporated the dirty look of the city into the film's aesthetic. The whole West Side was bombed out. There really were row after row of condemned buildings, and that's what we used to build our sets, were condemned buildings. Now it's fashionable real estate, but New York and Times Square was shuddering and disgusting. It's just exciting to see the city bounce back and become the great place it is today from where it was then. We didn't know we were documenting what looked like the dying gasp of New York.
Because you got no choice anyway.
Many scenes were also extremely difficult to film. The famous tracking shot during the final shootout took 3 months of preparation, as the production team had to literally cut a hole in the roof of the apartment in order to get the shot just right. In addition, Sybil Shepherd was a nightmare to work with on set, as the actress often showed up late to work and constantly forgot her lines, much to the annoyance of all the other actors, to the point that Scorsese was forced to feed her lines to an earpiece in order to get a credible performance out of her. In fact, during the famous coffee shop scene, Shepherd forgot her lines so often that the editors called most of the footage unusable, and were forced to edit around her performance in order to make the scene work.
God damn it!
But if that wasn't enough, the film also had issues getting past the censors. The MPAA initially gave the movie an X rating because of the violent nature of the final scene, so Scorsese was forced to desaturate the colour of the shot in order to make the blood look less prominent. The director was initially angry about this, but upon seeing the finished film, he was extremely impressed and even called it an improvement on the movie's original look. However, cinematographer Michael Chapman strongly regretted the decision, as no versions of the film without the desaturation exist due to the deterioration of the original print. However, for many years, a rumour spread that Scorsese was initially so angry about the movie's X rating that he stayed up all night drinking with a loaded gun in his hand, preparing to shoot the executive at Columbia Pictures the next day. Watch out, Uwe Boll!
What the hell's the matter with you?
When it came to the musical score, Scorsese approached Bernard Herrmann, but he refused at first, saying, "I don't write music for car movies." It was only after reading the script that he accepted the job. After the initial scoring session, Scorsese called his composer again, insisting that he needed one more musical cue. Herrmann then called back a studio orchestra who were paid a day's work for that one effect, but he died shortly after this session. But Herrmann sounds like too much of a nice guy. During the recording of the score, Scorsese brought his good friend Steven Spielberg to meet Herrmann, and Spielberg told him that he was a huge admirer of him. Herrmann responded, "Oh yeah? Then why do you always use John Williams for your films? Dick."
You don't remember any of that?
Taxi Driver was finally released on February the 8th, 1976, and was a surprise hit, grossing $28.4 million on a budget of just $2 million, and was instantly hailed as a classic. However, Leonard Maltin was one of few critics who disliked the film, only giving it 2 stars and calling it a gory, cold-blooded story of a sick man's lurid descent into violence. Literally, there's nothing in that sentence that explains why that's bad.
I don't know, that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard.
The American Film Institute picked Taxi Driver as the 52nd greatest film of all time and the 22nd most thrilling, with Travis Bickle as the 30th greatest villain and the famous line,
You talking to me?
as the 10th greatest quote. Fun fact for you, that line was actually improvised. Yeah, one of the most iconic lines in history, and it wasn't written. De Niro was just asked to go and talk to himself in the mirror, and he improvised the entire monologue. That's quite impressive. Joker director Todd Phillips stated that the movie was a huge influence on his film, to the point that many critics labelled Joker as a rip-off of Taxi Driver, and Quentin Tarantino picked it as one of his favourite movies of all time. Why am I not surprised?
Because it's so much fun, Chan. Get it?
In 2005, De Niro and Scorsese announced that they were working on a sequel to the film, which would have followed an older Travis Bickle trying to adjust to life in modern-day New York. But as of 2013, they put the project on hold as they didn't think the first draft of the script was good enough to match the original film. In 2010, a remake was even proposed with Lars von Trier as the director, but Schrader forbade him from going ahead with the project, and nothing has been said since.
Physical. Clean.
Age.
26.
Yeah, I'm sorry, he's clearly not 26. Just look at him. It's a nitpick, but am I wrong? But hey, I think we're watching the inspiration for Pornhub's Fake Taxi.
Each night when I return the cab to the garage, I have to clean the cum off the back seat.
Ew. Okay, I'm not judging anyone, but I have to ask. Why the hell does anyone go to a cinema to watch a porn movie? I don't understand. I mean, Pee Wee Herman proved you can't exactly bash one out during the film, so what's the point? Yeah, Travis is a total creep. First we witness him awkwardly hit on a woman at a store.
Yeah, what's your name? My name is Travis.
That's nice. What can I do for you?
I'd like to know what your name is. What's your name?
And then here, he just sits and stares at this chick in a diner. What the hell is he doing? I expect this from maybe horny teenagers who don't understand dating, but you're supposed to be 26. But amazingly, this woman is called Betsy, and she's not the least bit freaked out by his stalking. She even says yes to going out with it. What? He's just been staring at you this whole time. And he even says, oh yeah, I can tell you're lonely and miserable, but let's go out. What the hell's going on?
Betsy had coffee and a fruit salad dish. She could have had anything she wanted.
Including a restraining order. Also, a fun fact for you. So Travis orders
Black coffee and apple pie with a slice of melted yellow cheese.
When infamous serial killer Ed Gein was arrested, he requested a slice of apple pie with melted cheese in exchange for a full confession. This is quite a nice and subtle indication of Travis's character, as we slowly learn more and more about him. Sure, he's creepy and troubled, but you can kind of see why. The film is a slow trip into his psyche, and you can understand why he's a bit weird, and he would only get weirder.
And I felt when I walked in that there was something between us. There was an impulse that we were both following.
Oh god, it's another Jacob! Run away, Betsy! Run away! There is some nice soothing jazz music during cinematic shots and transitions. It is quite relaxing. So they go out on a date, but Travis actually takes her to see a porn movie. What the hell is wrong with you? And then he's so dumbfounded when she storms out.
I didn't know that you'd feel that way about this movie. Would you like to have some dinner with me in the next, few days or something?
Where are you gonna take her? A brothel? I just find it hilarious how stalking her and watching her like a creepy rapist is fine, but taking her to see a porno movie? No, that's just too far.
I also sent flowers, but with no luck. The smell of the flowers only made me sicker. The headaches got worse. I think I got stomach cancer.
He's being a hypochondriac.
Let's not have any trouble, okay?
What are you talking about? Why won't you talk to me?
Because you're a creepy pervert! And I'm sorry, but what is this? Has Robert De Niro ever been in a fight in his life? Who the hell fights this way? Don't mess with me! I'm gonna get you. I can't praise his performance in this movie enough, though. He really looks like a ruined man. You can feel his heartbreak, paranoia, anxiety, and sadness all combined, even without any dialogue. It's brilliant. And then we enter more Americans' wet dreams as he goes through all of these guns. Ah, yes, look at all these weapons, totally used for hunting and nothing else, yes. And then he starts to work out so he has a chance at fighting Al Pacino.
Hopper.
Yeah. Like a rabbit hip hop.
A hippie to the hip hip hop.
So this dude robs the place, but Travis blasts him away. I kind of expected it to be a bit more badass, but maybe it's just me, but was this really worth shooting the guy over? I mean, he's a criminal, sure, but he was robbing the place. He didn't kill anyone. Sure, he has a gun, but usually that's just a bluff. He just blasted him away, and then casually leaves while the cashier takes the blame. I don't think that's supposed to be funny, but it kind of is. But man, look at Harvey Keitel. What is he doing? He's playing a pimp and he's supposed to look appealing.
You should be back here every night for some more, man. She's 12 and a half years old. You ain't never had no pussy like that. You can do anything you want with her. You can come on her, f her in the mouth, f her in the ass, come on her face, man. She'll get your cock so hard, she'll make it explode.
You just said she's 12!
I'll take it.
What? She's 12!
Are you really 12 and a half?
Listen, mister, it's your time. 15 minutes ain't long.
But she clearly is! Why are you even risking it?
Want to make it like this?
Stop her? Why are you just standing there? What is going on? Why did you agree to come back to her place knowing she's 12? And the fact that the actress was actually 12 in real life makes me highly uncomfortable. Seriously, how did they get away with this? I don't understand! But the story is a progressive piece. Travis sees everything as normal. He goes to porn movies and stalks people and sees violence and sexual things as standard. He then tries to reach out and help Jodie Foster turn her life around. It is an interesting transition. He tries to convince her to go back to her family and just enjoy being a child instead of selling herself, and it is quite a sweet little arc.
Who's a killer?
That guy Sport's a killer. That's who's a killer.
Sport never killed me.
He killed
He's
someone.
a Libra.
He's a what?
I'm a Libra too. That's why we get along so well.
You participate in the mass cultural delusion that the sun's apparent position relative to arbitrarily defined constellations at the time of your birth somehow affects your personality.
I think that cancers make the best lovers, but
Oh, shut the f*** up! Star signs mean nothing!
Nah, I don't get along with people like that.
are you a Scorpion?
Oh, shut the f*** up! Then the 12-year-old dances romantically with Harvey Keitel. How did they get away with any of this? Man, the 70s were messed up. How did her parents allow this?
You know, at times like this, I know I am a lucky man.
She's 12!
Suck on this.
Oh no, the paedophile got shot. It is hilarious though how he gets shot and then he's like, hey, just wait 1 minute. Oh, damn it. Oh yeah, she can suck middle-aged dick, but seeing blood is far too much for her innocent 12-year-old eyes. And then Betsy only turns up to see Travis again once he becomes a hero for killing loads of gangsters and saving Jodie Foster. Gold-digging bitch. Then Travis sees something in the mirror before a very weird ending as we cut to the credits. And to this day, many people still disagree on the significance of this ending. Some say that it was all real, while others have theorized that the events after the shootout were a dream created by Travis's insane mind because he died during the shooting. There has been much discussion about the ending, in which we see newspaper clippings about Travis's heroism of saving Iris, and then Betsy gets into his cab and seems to give him admiration instead of her earlier disgust. Is this a fantasy scene? Did Travis survive the shootout? Are we experiencing his dying thoughts? Can the sequence be accepted as literally true? I'm not sure there can be an answer to these questions. The end sequence plays like music, not drama. It completes the story on an emotional, not a literal level. We end not on carnage, but on redemption, which is the goal of so many of Scorsese's characters. Scorsese and writer Paul Schrader append the perfect conclusion to Taxi Driver. Steeped in irony, the 5-minute epilogue underscores the vagaries of fate. The media builds Bickle into a hero when, had he been a little quicker drawing his gun against Senator Palantine, he would have been reviled as an assassin. As the film closes, the misanthrope has been embraced as the model citizen, someone who takes on pimps, drug dealers and mobsters to save one little girl. Both Scorsese and Schrader have acknowledged both sides of the argument as perfectly legitimate, but neither have given a definitive answer either way. Travis is not cured by the movie's end. Next time, he's not going to be a hero. Even though they were going to make a sequel based on him as an old man. Therefore, acknowledging that he clearly survived and it was all real. But if we're going to ignore that, what do I make of the ending? I'm going to go on a limb and say it isn't real. Sure, it's possible that Betsy is that superficial that she's only back now due to his success, but everything just wraps up so seamlessly that I can't help but feel it's a fantasy. Everything Travis ever wanted happens all at once, and the expression on his face could be perceived as eventual happiness, but I think it's more of a daydreaming stare. Furthermore, Betsy gets into his cab but doesn't even tell him where to go. He just starts aimlessly driving, which makes me believe even more so that it's a fantasy. I can see either side of the fence, but to me, I think it's more likely that it was imaginary and that Travis sadly died during the shootout. And until they do a sequel with him as an old man, I'm saying it was imaginary. The movie is great. I don't think it's Scorsese's best, but it's still a great story of a lost man experiencing some strange encounters and learning the error of his ways. De Niro gives the performance of a lifetime, as does Jodie Foster. The action is great and it's not overused. There's not even a whole lot there, but when it does happen, it's awesome. It's 2 hours long, but I don't really think it drags at any point. If you're looking for some action combined with a great character transformation, Taxi Driver is the film for you. And if you want to see a 12-year-old play a hoe, what is wrong with you?